Hello everyone, welcome to Blue Heron Hill. I'm Sue. Gorgeous fall day here. I'll show you some of the turning leaves already. These maples that we have going down the driveway are just starting up at the tippy tops to blush out with some of their gorgeous red leaves. But more to harvest in the garden. This time I just want to get it over with. I want to get these last two bins of sweet potatoes harvested and cured, and so I could put them away down in my pantry for long-term storage over the winter. So without further ado, let's just jump right into this. So I always start off with cutting off my vines. It's to get them out of the way so I can see what I'm doing. Looks like I have planted 3 slips in here. One really big one right here, and I can see a few sweet potatoes popping up at the top of that one. One over here and one over here. And then in addition, isn't this marigold just beautiful? Whew. I love them this time of year. All right. And as usual, I just tip them over here instead of trying to dig them out of the bin itself. So let's go do it. Oh wow, very, very good. I am very pleased with this bin. So I'm gonna get this all cleaned up and we're gonna go on to the last and the final bin from my 2025 sweet potato harvest. I had to move my bin over because it was in a weird spot. I couldn't even tip it over because now I moved it under my arch, this black-eyed Susan vine. So pretty. It's done so exceptionally well this year. So I will showcase my sweet potato harvest right under my gorgeous vine at the entrance to my garden. So let's get to it. Looks like I have 2 slips that were planted in here. I see one sweet potato over on this one. lots of tomatoes. So let's see what we get when we dump this. Number of tubers showing here. Lots right over here. Let's see what we got. Look at that strange looking one. It's like something I would find in the ocean instead of my sweet potatoes. That's a pretty harvest. We've got some really big ones here, some crazy shaped ones. Look at that. That is bizarre. You saw one of the first videos, I had some that looked like this. Looked like they had been split, but then skinned over and was trying to form the natural shape. This one is a little corkscrewed and lots of little fingerlings, but I think it's a decent crop, and we'll go with it. So let me get this cleaned up, and we're going to go into the greenhouse. Well, this is the third harvest for sweet potatoes this year, the last 2 bins, and I think I am very pleased. Here we go. These are all of the sweet potatoes, plus some fingerlings from the last 2 harvests. These are finished curing, and you can tell when they're finished curing by rubbing the skin just a little bit and it not, breaking off. So be careful. Some of these have been in a week, some have been in here for 2 weeks. So my new crop is going to replace these. These are going to go downstairs in my long-term storage. So I wanted to talk to you a little bit about how I feel about this year's crop. Number one, better than some years. So if you've been with me, you have seen my trials and tribulations with sweet potatoes and voles and whatever other little rodents just love to munch on these yummy tubers. Last year didn't have too much of a problem. No indication at all this year that I've had any rodent damage at all. So I'm very pleased with that. Now, I know I can't have the perfect tuber all the time. I think Misfits Market might come shopping in my garden for some of these crazy looking tubers. But they are just as good as those perfect ones that you can buy in the grocery store. So what are my concerns? Well, always my concern is watering. Do I water enough? Do I water often enough? I don't have these on a drip irrigation system. Therein lies my problem. Watering. Am I consistent enough? Am I watering enough? Am I watering too much? That I don't think is my problem. We had extremely wet spring. Sweet potatoes went in beginning of June, and right about the time they went in, we didn't have any more rain until now. So I think maybe a drip irrigation system might be in order if I leave them in the bins. Brings me to thinking about giving up one of my raised beds to all sweet potatoes. The soil in my raised beds is very fluffy. They would then be able to, the sweet potatoes would be able to put their roots way down deep. If you saw in some of my bins there how the roots were wrapped around the outside and they had nowhere else to go. So maybe that was a consideration that I should take, that I have not enough room for a sweet potato to actually do a good job growing. So what I'm going to do, I think, is take one of my beds. Right now I have 2 beds that are dedicated to peppers. I had a fantastic pepper crop this year. I had more than I need. So maybe one of those beds can be turned over to sweet potatoes. In years past, I've planted 3, maybe 4 slips per bin. Now these bins I think are about 35-gallon bins. They're very large. And looking back, I think maybe that was too much. So this year I cut it down to 2 or 3. You notice some of those bins had 3. This last one I did had 2. In a raised bed, those roots will have more room to spread out and to infiltrate the ground and get the groundwater. And those raised beds are also on my drip irrigation system. So that, over the winter time, that may be what I decide to do with one of my raised beds. Now, what do I do with those bins? Well, haven't gone that far yet. I don't think I need to do bins with sweet potatoes and a raised bed with sweet potatoes. But that's for further thought. In the cold winter, when the snow is piled up on these raised beds in my gardens, and I'm just dreaming of growing things. So, pretty good crop of sweet potatoes this year. I didn't weigh anything, and maybe I will. And on down the line, I'll give you an indication of what the total poundage was. But I'm calling this a win-win year for sweet potatoes. But as a gardener, there's always improvement to be had. And you're always looking for a better crop, maybe necessarily not a bigger produce, but a better, more favorable conditions for your crops. So thanks for following along with me on this video of sweet potatoes in 2025 in my garden. If you liked it, give me a thumbs up. Very well appreciated. If you haven't already, please subscribe and pass along to other people that may think might like this content. So until the next time that we can go digging in the dirt, happy gardening. Bye.